on and let's connect with Rishi Shah, who's the partner and senior economist at Grant Thornton Bharat. Hi Rishi, good to be speaking with you. A very good afternoon. And seems like that the Indian markets are finding some bit of a resilience, or rather relief, that what we have got a 26% tariff announcements, given the fact that our neighbors and some of the other geographies are having much more impact than what we are getting to here. But give us some sense that how these tariffs will impact us economically, what could be the implications on the bilateral trade, as well as these tariffs, how can they disrupt the whole supply chain?
Right. A very good afternoon, and thank you for having me on board. That's a good question to start off with. Let me start by saying that these are still early days in what turns out to be a first sort of move by the US in terms of the tariff announcements that they've made. I'm not sure if anybody in the market had expected these kind of numbers to come out, and these kind of calculations to actually emerge, wherein every country had an independent sort of tariff rate. Questions still remain as to how well they get imposed on different commodities across, whether you'll have a 26% all across, or how does it move on. The good part or the bad part, whichever way you want to look at it, is the fact that these are, I mean, these are still very early days, and you're looking into getting into the negotiating of different elements. We are, from a tariff perspective, at a lower rate from most of our neighbors, and that is a big positive for us, because we have a manufacturing base. We have at least the capacity to take on many more kinds of manufacturing of items. Our prime minister has actually openly said that we would be buying more from the US. So there is a sort of a quid pro quo kind of a thing on the fact that we will cover up the deficit that we have through energy purchases, maybe also defense. So a lot depends on how different negotiations across the world will actually happen. What the US has done is it's actually just thrown up the complete game open, wherein anybody can now come in, offer certain concessions, and go ahead with it. So it's a lot of uncertainty at the moment. But yeah, as we move ahead, maybe in the next 2 to 3 months, picture will become slightly more clearer as to the direction we're heading into.
Right, Rishi, hi, good afternoon. This is Ankita also joining in. Rishi, another interesting thing that has played out is the fact that, of course, emerging markets could look more attractive now, given that the dollar index is cooling off, and now we're seeing good recovery coming in on Indian rupee as well. As of today, also, going ahead, would you be tracking the dollar index, and if that is likely to remain at a moderated level, how is this going to benefit other emerging markets, specifically India, now that the tariffs are out and there are heavy tariffs on China, and so India automatically becomes a big beneficiary of the China plus one trade?
Yeah, so there are two aspects to it. The first and important question is what happens to China, because that's really that's the one game changer that can again affect the whole global market, akin to what the US has done. The question is whether the Chinese authorities are willing to depreciate their currency further, which will then go into a currency war kind of a thing, because once the Chinese currency depreciates, almost all other currencies have to depreciate to maintain parity, to maintain that kind of competitiveness in their economies. So that's one clear aspect to watch out for. On the other front, I think there was some unnecessary slippage in the rupee around the budget times, and even after that, foreign exchange rates have a tendency of overshooting what their equilibrium rates should be, and what the market largely looks at. And I think that the Reserve Bank of India should be applauded for that, is to actually look at the stability in the exchange rate, whether it's an 86, 87, 88. When you make your bets, those bets are held for 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months, and so on and so forth. It is important for the markets to have that kind of certainty that broadly these are the numbers that we're dealing with, so that your cost structures don't go haywire. So what the Indian market should ideally be looking at is stability in the number. And of course, the dollar index is a very good indicator of how the world is perceiving risk, and where all the global investors are thinking how the money will move, how production capacities will actually move. But like I said in the earlier part of the discussion as well, that still very early days. The markets tend to overreact in any given sort of situation. You're likely to see some sort of subdued movement over the next few days, and all eyes on China and how it actually takes on their currency, whether they depreciate or they keep it stable. I think that for in the short term, that is crucial for everybody.
Well, certainly, markets are writing their own story, and especially the Indian markets, given the recovery. But Rishi, we let you go on that note. Thank you so much for taking the time out and helping us with your day. Well, moving on, let's.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.